Howdy. This is the Views from the Schott podcast. I'm your host, your one and only host, Tim Miller. And today it is Monday, November 10th, 2025. And I wish you a very, very, very happy Area Code Day. On today's show, we're getting ready for Ohio State's matchup with Appalachian State coming up here on Tuesday evening. It is a brand new start to the week. It's a brand new day. So, brand new beginnings for you. If you haven't subscribed to the Views from the Schott podcast, this is the only Ohio State basketball exclusive podcast, publishing episodes year-round at least once a week, and previewing and recapping every single Ohio State basketball game that it plays. So encourage you to subscribe. Make sure you like the video on YouTube and subscribe on YouTube as well. Every video, we get a couple more subscribers on YouTube, which I'm thankful for. Always get a bunch of likes. But the sad reality is that we have more people listening to and watching the show than are subscribed. I'd like to close that gap just a little bit. So if you could be a part of the change, that would be fantastic. Speaking of change, we've got like special weather statements. We've got snow coming in yesterday on Sunday, flurries. It's freezing cold. Not quite freezing cold. I think the high, at least for me today, is around 33. So we're just a smidge above. But that said, winter's coming. And if winter's coming, that means college basketball is here. It's already here. We've already talked about 2 Ohio State games. We will continue to do that today. So as you warm up your mug of warm beverage, you have maybe some chicken pot pie with a biscuit or something. I don't know what you're into necessarily. Make this a part of your routine. All right. You can listen to the show. It's completely free. You can watch the show completely free, covering Ohio State hoops. Views from the Schott podcast.substack.com. Again, I try to get there all the time until you actually get there and subscribe for completely free. I don't think you quite know what you're missing out on, so I'd encourage you to get there as well. But today we got to talk about the Buckeyes taking on the Mountaineers. Game 1 of 2 this season against the Mountaineers. They've got App State here on Tuesday, and then, of course, West Virginia about a month away, maybe to the day, in December as well, another team known as the Mountaineers. So on today's show, we'll break down the game. We'll talk about App State, their background. We'll talk about their offense, how Ohio State matches up there defensively. We'll talk about App State's defense and how Ohio State matches up offensively before we get into some keys to the game, some overall notes, and we'll get into some predictions. By the way, the BIP is getting put into timeout. Okay, it has been. We all have to learn it, right? When we're naughty, we get put into timeout, and we have to learn for ourselves, and we have to decide as human beings, as we grow up into adults, are we going to play nice? Are we going to play by the rules? Or are we going to continue to disobey? And right now, the BIP is disobeying very, very hard. On Saturday, we had one pick, okay? The BIP suggested we take Utah, favored by 16.5, to cover against some team whomst I don't remember who they were playing. They won by 3 points. So the BIP is getting shoved into a box, into a shoebox. We're putting it on the top shelf of some room we never go into, and it's just going to have to learn a lesson. It's going to learn a valuable lesson with the dust mites and with the darkness, and just learn, if you're not going to act right, then you don't get to play with us. And right now, the BIP doesn't get to play with us. But we will have predictions, and I'll let you know where the BIP sees this game as if it freaking matters. Because right now, it doesn't matter whatsoever. We're mad at the BIP on this show. That's our position. So Ohio State taking on App State. This game will take place. Should I find a time? Probably should find a time. Let's see if I can find a time real quick, and maybe a TV as well. 6:30 tip-off, as per usual. According to ESPN Analytics, Ohio State has a 95.2% chance to win this game. So odds are looking okay for the Buckeyes in this one. This one will tip off again 6:30 on November 11th. Happy Veterans Day, early Veterans Day. This will be on Big Ten Plus. So if you don't have Big Ten Plus, if you didn't get Big Ten Plus for Ohio State's first game of the season, now would be the time to do so. Quick fact, and this is going to be more valuable than anything you hear on this show. I was at my local library a couple days ago with the wife. She's picking up a book. Very, very happy that I have a wife who reads. I appreciate that about her. But as we're checking out there, I see a little sign that says you can rent like a Apple TV or Roku or Peacock or HBO, all of the different things that can be strum, which is to say streamed, but in a better way. Anything you can strum. Apparently, your library, if you have a library card, you can just go there and rent it for 21 days. All this time, we're worried about Peacock and Big Ten Plus. We could have just gotten it from the library for 21 days and rented it somehow. I don't know. Maybe that's just my library, but check in on that, folks. Check in on it. All right. Get your library card. Read a little bit too. It's good for us. Okay. So Ohio State taking on App State, as we said. Appalachian State head coach Dustin Kearns, enters his 8th season here with the Mountaineers. They go 17-14 last year. The year before, 27-7. And they've had no losing seasons under Kearns. This is a team hovering around 17, 18, 19 wins per season. They've got one NCAA tournament appearance under Kearns. They went to the NCAA tournament and then lost in the first four just a few years ago. I remember watching that game, never knowing that I would be talking about them on an Ohio State basketball podcast, but how life can change for us, folks. Think about, why don't you take a minute here and maybe pause the show. What's a big change in your life you can be thankful for? It is almost Thanksgiving, folks, and we don't sweep that under the rug on this show. We don't just go straight into Christmas, man. Warm up a little bit before you get into the holiday season. My goodness. Appalachian State 2-1, but they're really 1-1. They've got one win over Carolina University, whatever the heck that is. That's a non-Division I school. So they're 2-1 technically this year, but more technically when it comes to stacking their resume amongst other teams in the NCAA, they're 1-1 because you only count Division I games. They lost to Central Michigan 82-66 to start the year. Then they beat North Carolina Central just last night by 22 points. And Ken Pom, they're number 217, and Bart Torvik, they're 248. So a lot of argumentation between Ken Pomeroy, and our friend Bart on the metrics in terms of Appalachian State. Last year, the Mountaineers played one power conference game. It was against Wisconsin. They got absolutely destroyed. The stats, just so you know, the stats that I tell you on this preview episode, some of them are just going to come from the first game of the year against Central Michigan. Others will combine Central Michigan with their win over North Carolina Central. At the time of recording and at the time of putting notes together, the North Carolina Central stats were not up in terms of being lumped together with their entire season. So that said, I'm doing the best I can, man, but I'm kind of handcuffed in this regard. And you got to get your content. I know you're hungry for it. Some are even thirsting for it. And I got to give you that. So let's get into the Appalachian State offense now that you have that disclaimer. So last season, they've got 104.5 offensive rating. If you're not familiar with offensive rating numbers, just know that's bad. They scored 65.8 points per game. Also bad. Shot 42.7% from the field and 34% from the three. That 34% from the three number, of all the numbers I've said so far, that one at least is not all that bad. Historically, though, they've just been bad offensively. Like, forget the roster turnover. Don't worry about the portal or NIL or anything like that. Under Kearns, this is a program that just has not been very good offensively. Now, you look at this year, 102.9 offensive rating. They scored 71 points per game. That does count their two games. 35.6% from the field and 37% from the three-point line. So you look at last year, you look at how they're shooting so far this year, not half bad there for the Mountaineers from deep. Notes, players on Appalachian State. So you wonder, why are they not scoring points? Well, number one, Dustin Kearns and his friends there in Boone, North Carolina. I know where Appalachian State is. Did you? Did you learn something new today? If you did, like the video on YouTube and subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and give a 5-star review. 3-1. I gave you one fun fact that you might have already known. You give me 3 things. It feels fair. So they would prefer what I would like to call a sludge fest. It's not a slug fest, not on this show. It's a sludge fest. They put the sun in Sun Belt. A lot of other teams, as we know, they'll put the fun in Fun Belt. not Appalachian State. They want to muck it up offensively. They want a slow pace of 64.1, by the way, this year. That's fifth percentile, or sorry, that was last year. Sorry, some of these numbers are last year, some of them combined. I already gave that disclaimer. Pace last year was 64.1. That's fifth percentile last year in college basketball. Very, very low number of field goals attempted per game last season as well. That's going to carry over to this year because it's a constant undercurrents there for the Mountaineers. They have scored in the fast break this year, so although they are slowing it down, they're scoring in the fast break a little bit. But again, it's been 2 games, so how much you really count? Again, all of these counting numbers, none of them are counting the non-Division One game against Carolina University. Speaking of Carolina, I'm gonna have some PTSD here. I I was I was famously low on North Carolina coming into the season. They beat Kansas. What was that, on Friday night? How could they do that to me and to you? Messed up. So they've scored a little bit in the fast break. 3 of the past 4 years, though, 40th percentile or worse in fast break points per game. So I don't know. When you go play a team like Ohio State that wants to run up and down the floor, is App State going to adjust? Is it going to continue to slow this game down even more? We will see. Speaking of ugly basketball, this was through one game. They were 48.3% shooting from where? The 3-point line? No. The field? No shot. From the free throw line, they were shooting 48%. Now, I want to check here. I'm going to take a look at team stats and see. Okay, now we're looking at Ohio State. How does that help me, ESPN? See, the problem with the timing of I'm I'm on App State, and then I click stats and it's showing me Ohio State. The problem here with recording at the time that I am and all that, which I'm ready to go to bed already, but that's beyond the point at this point. I on ESPN, I'm not familiar. I don't know where we are here. App State right now, 2 games played. So it has 2 games. They are 351st out of 364 teams in free throw percentage at 54.5% from the free throw line. Shout out Evan Mahaffey. Shout out Sean Stewart. Sorry for those guys catching strays, but it does need to be said at this point. All right, where's my tab here with my actual notes on it? I got some printer cartridges in the mail finally. I think Saturday. Didn't put them in the printer yet, but we will soon. Look, it's really hard to find where Appalachian State will find success offensively this year. And year over year, it's been the same way. Like, if you look through on college basketball analytics, highly recommend you go there, cbbanalytics.com, completely free. If you look there, if you look anywhere, you try to find trends. And this is what I try to do, especially early on in the year when Ohio State plays games, whether it's Notre Dame or not. I'm trying to figure out what has this team been based on the head coach. It's really hard to say offensively for App State where they will be good, where they will be bad, because some years are really good in one spot, other years are really bad in one spot, that same spot. At the end of the day, what we do know is this. Offensively, they have not been strong under Kearns. The pace has always been the same. It's been very, very slow. 3-point shooting has been okay, but overall, this is not an offense that necessarily scares you. Like I said, this year, fast break scoring is up. The other thing that I've seen, again, it's just 2 games, but second chance points are also up. 20 second chance points per game. That number, I believe, per game is literally 1 game. The first game of the year, they did score 20 second chance points. These updated stats just not available yet. They usually reset heading into the new day. So as I record here on a Sunday night, these won't be updated normally until late Sunday night or early Monday morning. So that said, we are where we are. You can check this for yourself on college basketball analytics. But 20 second chance points per game, 30.3% of their points coming from the second chance. That's insane. I mean, just imagine that. 3 out of your 10 points coming from offensive rebounds. That's a crazy number. You look at Alonzo Dodd, not a guy who's going to get heavy playing time. I don't even think he starts for Appalachian State through these first few games, but he did lead the team in second chance scoring against Central Michigan. Doesn't have a single offensive rebound this season, so it's coming from bigger guys getting him help. I don't know how sustainable that's going to be for Dodd as the season goes on. I've talked enough about kind of the stats situation for this game, so that's that. Michael Marcus Jr., He's kind of in the same boat. And then Kason Jennings is a player we'll talk about later on the show. He's helping in this area as well. We'll see if this shows up against Ohio State. I'll get into this later, actually. They had 17 offensive rebounds in that first game against Central Michigan. Again, a losing effort. They got destroyed in that game, and I think it was a 1.5-point closing line. So it was basically a pick 'em in that game as well. And they had a 36.2% offensive rebounding rate. Again, looking at where they are offensively year over year, I have no idea if this is going to be a trend that stays this year or even stays in this game against Ohio State. Like I said, a poor shooting team. They're 44% against North Carolina Central in their third game of the year, 36% against Central Michigan. They shot the deep ball well against Central Michigan. That's one thing they did do well. But against Central Carolina, they go, North Carolina Central, they go 7 of 26. So that's not that pretty. And it's also not a lot of made 3-pointers. But there are some players we do need to talk about here offensively. Some guys to keep an eye on. I mean, this is just something where as you're looking into this game and as you're watching, who should I be focusing on? Who can Ohio State not let get going? Some guys will get their buckets regardless. One player you look at is Kason Jennings. He's a transfer in from South Florida. Scored 17, I think he's 17 points per game. This is the 2 games now at this point. So 17 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, 2.5 assists per game, shooting 58% from the field, 57% from the 3-point line. He absolutely will let it fly from deep. Just hasn't been super efficient over his career, even going back to South Florida. And he leads the team in offensive rebounds at this point. So that helps, I'm sure. But this is the primary player that I'm looking at if I'm Ohio State going up against Appalachian State. I'll pull up some more numbers here from Kason Jennings is courtesy of College Basketball Analytics. So he also started his career, I believe, at Kennesaw State. But even if you look at his shooting, his heat maps, field goal percentage, like even by region last year, really was not very good. He was 20 of 40 at the rim. He was 6 of 18 in the paint, 30% from the wing to the top of the key, and 32.6% in the corner. None of those numbers are good, but he does shoot from literally everywhere, whether it be at the rim, from behind the 3-point line, the mid-range. He will shoot from anywhere, and he's more of a volume scorer than anything else. So he will be able to score. He probably will score, 15-ish points in this game if he has his way against Ohio State. You're going to need more help than that, obviously, if you're going to knock off Ohio State in this game. But that's a player to keep an eye on. Luke Wilson is another. He enters his second year at App State and second year in college basketball overall. He's 6'9". He's a big man, plays center there for Appalachian State. He's only going to shoot in the paint. He took a couple shots from the mid-range last year. He's only shot in the paint or at the rim so far this year. Wasn't all that efficient last year for Appalachian State. That's just kind of the theme for these guys. Unfortunately, not a great shooting team. Alonzo Dodd, another player I'll mention again, 10 points per game. At this point, shooting 60% from the 3-point line. He likes to find his way into the paint to score, but he'll also shoot from the 3-point line. Just not great historically from the 3-point line, and only 53% at the rim. That number, not that great as well. Aaron Banks is an interesting player, in my opinion. Transfers in from Georgia Southern. He's probably, I would assume, he's the best shooter on the team. 40% from the 3-point line last season, and he got enough attempts for that number to really matter, right? Like, remember last year, Sean Stewart shot 50% from the 3-point line. He was 1 of 2, I believe. This is a player who is shooting, I think, 4 or 5 3-pointers per game on average last year at Georgia Southern. And this year, he's 44% from behind the 3-point line. So those are kind of some players to keep an eye on if you're Ohio State, if you're a fan in general, watching Ohio State take on App State. Now, defensively, you probably pause at this point and you say, well, if this team is so bad offensively, traditionally, and they're winning games. Remember at the start of the show, I told you this is a team that's made the NCAA tournament. They're double-digit wins. They're not IU Indy. They have some track record of success there in the Sun Belt. If that's the case, then they must be pretty good defensively, right? And the answer would be, yeah, they're pretty good defensively. Last year, 102.5 defensive rating, 64.6 points per game allowed. That was 96th percentile in college basketball. only allowed 40.1% of shots from the field to go in, and 29.8% of shots from behind the arc went in as well. This year, it doesn't matter. 127.9 defense rating. Actually, I'm gonna check here. I'm gonna check again to see if these numbers are in for Appalachian State, and they're still not. They're still not in. So the defensive rating against Central Michigan only was 127.9. That's really, really bad, but it's one game. It was against Central Michigan. They played much better defensively against North Carolina Central, so you would expect maybe somewhere in the middle, I guess, against Ohio State. Who knows? So this year, allowing 68 points per game, 52% of shots from the field are going in, 44% of shots from the three-point line going in. The shooting number, specifically the field goal to three-point percentages, that's just one game, but the points per game is not. So defensively, if you watch this team, and I actually watched their game against Wisconsin last year, this is a team that even against Wisconsin in that game, a lot of buckets made by Wisconsin, kind of using size, strength, speed over just losing guys or lapses in judgment or getting lost out there. Even against Wisconsin, it's a defense that doesn't get lost. It plays disciplined. They mind their gaps. Great communication and effort overall. I think the number one thing that I see from this team is really, really hard closeouts. And that's what I see from the eye test. And then what I see when I'm looking at the stat profile is that from the eye test, it's probably confirmed. Like, you look at their defensive rebounding rate. If you look at a team that's going to be good defensively, it's, are you really, really good at defensive rebounding, or are you really, really good at forcing turnovers, or maybe are you just good at stopping the three ball, for example, or stopping shots at the rim? Defensive rebounding rate wise, 54th percentile, 68th percentile, and 45th percentile over the past 3 seasons. Those numbers not at all impressive. You look at the steal rate over the past 3 seasons, it's even worse. 24th, 26th, and 33rd percentile. So they're not forcing turnovers, and they're not grabbing every single defensive rebounding opportunity that they get. What are they doing, though? Here's your answer. Here's why they are stopping teams. Well, number one, the pace is so slow that the sheer raw scoring that you are allowing is going to be lower because it's just less field goal attempts. But what they are doing is they're blocking shots. When I look at this Appalachian State team, I see a team with great effort, with great communication, and with really, really hard closeouts. So when I see that, and then I look at the block rate, it's interesting that that's confirmed. 91st percentile and 97th percentile in block rate over the past 2 years. That number dropped last season, so it was the second and third previous years, not just last year. Their block rate this year, they had 3 blocks in one game against Central Michigan. It's not a great block rate regardless. Let me check. While we're here, do we have numbers from this previous game for Appalachian State to see their block numbers against North Carolina Central? Let's go to box score. Sorry, folks, we just got to do it this way sometimes. They had 4 blocks in that game. So even the block rate there, like even just that small of number, regardless of how many field goals you give up, you're not going to have a crazy block rate. That's just how it goes. But over the past couple years, the block rate has been really, really good. The other thing, so you see the block rate, and for me personally, that made me wonder, okay, if you're closing out hard and you're blocking shots, are you fouling as well? Like, are you playing uber aggressive, closing out on shooters? And the answer is, even if they are, they're not fouling. This isn't a team that fouls a whole lot. 99th percentile in each of the past 2 years in personal fouls per game. This year, let's see if we can find the number. And I'll just go back to ESPN. I guess that's a set I have to use now because, the site I have to use now is what I got to use. 17 fouls against North Carolina Central. That's not great. And in the first game this year, where is it on college basketball analytics? 18 fouls. So it's an okay number, but they were like 13 and 13.9 over the past 2 seasons. So that's way lower. So it's a team that traditionally has been blocking shots and not fouling either. They defend all parts of the floor well as well. These are guys who, again, they rotate. so quickly. They eat up space quickly, and they're doing this all defensively without great size. 140th and 218th the last 2 years in average height. You wouldn't expect them to be like 61st or 29th in average height because it's Appalachian State, and those spots are kind of reserved for the Dukes and the Arizonas and the North Carolinas and the Ohio States, for example. Although I don't think Ohio State was great in average height last year. I'm just curious. I'm doing this literally for my own self. Where did Ohio State end up in average height last year? 269th. That is absolutely horrible, but we thank Coach Diebler and his staff for putting together a much better roster, we think, this year. So all in all, defensively, this is a team built by defense, not great size. They can block shots. They don't gobble up defensive rebounding chances at a overly insane rate or anything like that. It's just a defense that just flat out is ready to sit down and defend for 40 minutes. So that could make things hard on Ohio State. Let's talk about keys to the game in this one. The first one, I think you got to shut down Case and Jennings. So if you look at Appalachian State and just their sheer scoring right now, this is a team that is led by Case and Jennings. He's averaging 17 points per game. Your next best is Luke Wilson, who I already mentioned, at 11.5 points per game. And Jennings, in his 2 games against Division I opponents this year, he scored 21 and 22 points. So then why are we saying that he's averaging 17 points per game on ESPN? I feel like I'm going crazy, and you might just have to delete this podcast now. It might just be time to throw this in the trash. We're packing in. We can't do this the right way. But I did look at his freaking game logs. It's 21 and 22 points. So ESPN is drunk, and it's Sunday night, so that's not a good thing. We got to go to work tomorrow. Like I said, this is a volume shooter. He'll pull up from anywhere. He's also listed at 6'5", so he could be a difficult guard here for Devin Royal in this game. This will be a test for him, a player who I haven't even asked, probably should, had something go on in game 2 for Ohio State in their win over Purdue Fort Wayne. So something going on in that game for Royal where his minutes were a little limited, didn't get to play all that much at least in the start of the second half. So this could be an interesting matchup for Ohio State. And Jennings, he's going to play a bunch of minutes in this game. Played 31 and 36 minutes against Division I opponents so far this year. So this is a player who's getting playing time. So I think your first key to the game, it's defensively for Ohio State. You got to shut down Case and Jennings. That's where this offense starts. If he gets going, you could have at least some small problem on your hands. The other key in this game for Ohio State, it's very simple. You got to win the pace race. Ohio State this season, 92nd percentile in pace. That number came down after the game against Purdue Fort Wayne because against IU Indy, the pace was insane. App State, on the flip side, is 9th percentile. They're nearly exactly opposite. Ohio State 92nd, App State 9th in pace this year. Ohio State offensively, 13th in the nation in adjusted offensive efficiency. That comes from Ken Palm. They're 3rd in effective field goal percentage. They're 2nd in 2-point percentage. This is where Appalachian State has been stronger, is defensively. Obviously, this year and even the past years, but especially this year, they haven't been that special, I guess I would say, defensively. So as you look at Ohio State in this game, they got to win the pace race. You got to get to 10 points in the first 3 minutes of this game. You got to get to 15, 20 quickly and put the pedal to the metal on App State, because if App State is able to slow you down, if at all, that's going to allow App State to sit down and defend, limit your ability to get shots up. And in a game like this, where you have better athletes, better skill, better speed, better overall talent, you want to be able to get more shots up to start to distance yourself from the opponent. That's just how this works. So in this game, Ohio State's got to win the pace race. If App State controls the tempo, if they keep this in the half court, Ohio State may take some time before they can really pull away against the Mountaineers. So as I look at this game overall, I kind of already mentioned this. This is the first test for Ohio State against a team built by defense. IU Indy has a unique defense. They're not built by being led by the defense. Exact same way for Purdue Fort Wayne. They are actually kind of a stronger offensive team profile-wise. over 12 years under John Kaufman, I think is their head coach's name. If I'm misremembering your name, head coach at Purdue Fort Wayne, just let me know. Shoot me a text. I apologize. That said, first game for Ohio State where it is a team that is defensive led and not offensive led. So that's going to be a test for Ohio State. I get it's App State. I get they're not projected to even contend for the Sun Belt. They're not projected to be a team in the field of 68 or anything like that, but you still have to take note of that. So that's one note. The other thing is you can't get caught looking ahead to Notre Dame. That's the first test of this year. I've said that. I was super angry on the last show. Maybe not super angry, but more than mildly perturbed over kind of the fan reaction from game 2 of Ohio State fans getting upset and angry about how they look defensively or trying to flame Gabe Cupps and all those different types of things. Look, I've said kind of from go this season, your first test is Notre Dame. Well, you're 2-0 at this point. You played your first 2 games. You've got one more game before you get to that first test of Notre Dame. Can't get caught looking ahead, right? I mean, anecdotally, how do these upsets happen? Happens through defense. You can check that off for Appalachian State. We believe in their defense that if an upset is going to happen, it's going to happen by Appalachian State having to do like 99th percentile of what they're capable of this season. Are you going to get a team that's 99th percentile doing what they need to do in so many different things on the same night against a team like Ohio State? It's unlikely. It's why upsets like these don't happen that much. But if it were to happen, Appalachian State, they've got the defense. They've got the slow pace, which means you can limit the amount of possessions that the opposing offense is getting, especially if that offense is better than you. You're limiting those possessions, which means you can just condense the game a little bit and keep the game a little closer. And then the 3-point shooting. Appalachian State has guys who can hit from deep. As I mentioned already, they're 32% this year. One good game from deep, you combine that with a good defense with a slow pace, that can sink you. That can get you upset. I'm not saying that I'm all that concerned about Ohio State getting upset against Appalachian State. Is it a mini trap game? Yeah, for sure. You're playing a team that's tough defensively. You're playing a team that could flirt with being okay from the 3-point line in just a 40-minute game. And you're playing a team that likes to slow down the pace while you very easily could be looking ahead to your biggest game of the year so far against Notre Dame. So am I worried about it? No, not necessarily, but these are some ways that Ohio State could either truly get upset or this game could at least be kept close. So now we must slowly stroll into our room that we rarely go into, in your own home, which room that is. And you turn the light on, you flip the switch, you head into your closet, maybe you open up that sliding door, and you dust off the shoebox, and out comes the BIP. And you take off the lid and you look at the BIP and you say, look, BIP, I don't want to put you back in here, but you're going to have to start behaving this season. So the BIP says, okay, I'm going to try to do better. And then you reply with, okay, BIP, how do you see this Ohio State game? And that's where things kind of break down, okay? The spread I'm okay with, just in terms of overall number, like I'm good with the spread. The total, the BIP just can't figure it out, okay? The BIP projects Ohio State to be favored by 22.5 points in this game. I'm going to check right now. I'm more than certain that there's not a number out, at least of the time of recording in this game, but let's figure it out nonetheless. Is this an Ohio State against UCLA? Oh, that's football. Yeah, my bad. So this Appalachian State game, we've got absolutely nothing right now. App State 9th in the Sun Belt, says this app. Doesn't make sense. We haven't played any games in the Sun Belt yet. So the spread projected by the BIP is 22.5 points. This is not a game where Ohio State's expected to be in a close one, even at halftime. So that's what the BIP says. I'm huge flashing lights here. If Ohio State's favored by 16.5 or 29.5, I don't care. I'm not touching anything that the BIP says right now. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be tracking what the BIP would suggest, and I'll probably still bet it just because, got to listen to the BIP, right? And until it can behave, we're shoving the BIP away. But right now, again, it's saying 22.5 point favorite. Ohio State should be when this line opens on late Monday or Tuesday. The total at 149.5 points. Look, if you've watched Ohio State basketball this year, Ohio State's projected at 85 points. So it's projecting App State around 60-ish. Look, I don't know if Ohio State's only scoring 85 points in this game. I think the total should probably be higher, and I think it will be higher. And just like the first two games, I think whatever Vegas comes out with in terms of the total, it just keeps getting bet up, up, up. So if you want some value, probably just take the over when it comes out, but that's not really a smart way to bet. Overall, that's what the BIP says. What do I say? Look, I say this is another game that Ohio State should win and feel relatively comfortable throughout. Here's the weird thing that we haven't seen from Ohio State yet. Against IU Indy, that game never felt comfortable, and it never was going to feel comfortable. You look at the full court press that they put on, how freaking insane they are, the energy that they play with. Like, that was just weird. That was what that game was you just want to, it's Tuesday night, and you had a tough day at work, and you get home and you make your chicken and rice, but you burnt your chicken and the rice is hard and you're just pissed and you're like, well, I'm going to go to the Y. I'm going to go somewhere. I'm going to get some shots up. And one thing leads to another, and someone's going to pick you up and you're going to go run 5-on-5. And you're like, okay, fine. Let's play. And the team you face is former Division I soccer players, okay? They're not good, they're not talented, they're not skilled, but they're freaking annoying because all they want to do is hustle and they stick on you like glue for 94 feet. And that's stupid. That's what IU Indy was. Just annoying. Like, just, can you give me 5 feet to get past half court, IU Indy? And they said, no, we will not give you that. That's fine. Against Purdue Fort Wayne, though, that game at times was fine. You pulled away and you ended up covering, but you had 10 to 15 minutes of bad basketball in that game. So in this game for Ohio State, I think what I'm looking for is give me 35 minutes of good basketball, 33 minutes of good basketball. Like, I will give you a pass. Maybe Gabe Cupps suffers a turnover. Maybe they miss 3 3-pointers in a row on consecutive possessions. I don't know what that looks like. I will give some grace. You can't be perfect for 40 minutes. But in this game, I would look for Ohio State to have the most clean and comfortable win that it's had this year. The problem, again, is that App State defensively is not necessarily indicating that that's going to be the case for the Buckeyes. Regardless, get out of here with a win, score 90 points, don't give up more than 70-ish, and be happy with the win. Don't get hurt. Head into Sunday against Notre Dame for a big one. That would be what I would say. I don't know what you would say. You'd probably want maybe not you listening to the show. It's funny. I saw a tweet and it absolutely encapsulated how I feel about Gabe Cupps in the Ohio State basketball community. I don't remember what it's called, but someone tweeted essentially like, your opinion on Gabe Cupps allows me to know like how much ball knowledge you have. I would agree. If you don't like Gabe Cupps, I'm not sure how much I value your opinion. If you have concerns about Gabe Cupps, that's fine. But if you're just full on hating on the guy, then I don't get it, man. And maybe you're wondering why I'm talking about Gabe Cupps so much. It's just because that was the talk of the Ohio State basketball fan base after the game against Purdue Fort Wayne. So I'll keep talking about it as well because it appears to be on people's minds. But all that said, okay, this has really gone off the rails. All I want to say is give me a clean win. Win by 20-ish points. Get a clean win. Let's not have a stretch like you did against Purdue Fort Wayne where it was like turnover, layup, turnover, timeout. Like, we can't have that. Play some more clean basketball in this game. Sit down, defend, get out of here with a win. We'll move on to Sunday and get ready for Ohio State against Notre Dame. So that's my expectation for the game against Ohio State. I think they win by 20-ish points, 20, 25 points, something like that. And hopefully they score 90-ish. This is the first game this year. I'm not really projecting that they'll touch 100. I think App State defensively, they're just not going to allow that to happen. And pace-wise, they're going to limit the amount of possessions Ohio State gets in this game, even if Ohio State wants to play fast. You can't force App State to play fast if they have the ball in their hands. All righty. Somehow we've gone almost 40 minutes in this one. And when I was looking at notes and putting everything together, I was kind of saying, I'm not sure that I have the best content for this game. Apparently I did, or I just talked a lot. Some combo of both, probably. All right. Well, thanks for being here today. I do appreciate it. We'll look forward to Ohio State taking on App State on Tuesday. Appreciate you being here. Give a 5-star review if you like the show. I'd appreciate that a bunch. Make my day. Do it. I dare you. What else do I need you to do? Subscribe over to your podcast, subscribe on YouTube, like the video if you watch on YouTube. Even if you didn't, just pull it up and like it. You can see my face. Or don't care at this point. 40 minutes in, don't care. I guess that's it. That's all, folks. We'll look forward to Ohio State taking on App State 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday. That game on Big Ten Network Plus. We love some Big Ten Network Plus in our life. Until next time, thanks for listening today. I appreciate it more than you can understand. I shut up before you shut me off. Go Bucks.